hopefully you have your loop working and you have 5 of them working across. I want to talk about a few different things going on now. So the next thing we can talk about is the range 5. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a perfectly good way to do it, but then I have to kind of manage the math of this inside of here. I have to take that count and multiply it and plus, and I might have to do some of that anyway, but I don't necessarily have to. So one of the things I could do is I could say range 1 comma 5, and so I can have a beginning and an end, or 2 comma 5, and or 4 comma, let's go 10. So using it this way, if I run it, I'm skipping the first several locations. And so I start off at 4, go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so I'm skipping the first 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, so I don't have to draw one there. And I can just start wherever I want to and end wherever I want to. This range will make a little bit more sense when we get into lists if you only want to do a sub list inside of there, but you can do it. But if we do the range plus the step, we can make our lives even simpler. So what I can do is, let's say I want the range. Let's say I want it to start at 15. Well, then I don't need 15 here. But, and then I want to have it go up to 160, let's say. Well, yeah. So the 160 in theory should be the last one before 175. That's, I'm sorry, not 175. How wide did, 500, excuse me. So let's just say 500. That's the size of the screen right there. But we only want it to show up every 30th item. So we don't want to do the count 30. So what we're going to do is we're going to start at 15, then 45, then 75, then 105, and so on and so forth until I get up to 500. Let's see what this does here. So the range counts every 30th item. Now, look at that. I have a whole row of targets. Pretty straightforward, right? That is the for loop. The for loop counts through the range provided here. I want to show you a little something though. Let me take this range real quick and do a print the range. So the count, the for loop, itself works with the range, but the range is a data structure on its own. So if I run this, you can see, what did it print? It printed the text of that, so it didn't actually give me the values. Let me do that a little here. Let's do it a little bit different way. This is a good place where I can show you the Python shell command. So if I do a paste inside the Python shell command, oh no, it still shows that. All right, well, the range itself is not part of the for statement. We're going to see an example of that here in a second. I apologize. I thought I could print that out. I never tested it before. So again, some real-time learning here. But what I can do to show you this is I can do a print right here, count. And then when I run it this way, you can see it shows 4, like I said, 15, 75, 45, 75, 105, 135, all the way up to 195, and then it stops there. All right, so that gives you a feel for what that range is doing. It counts for us on that distance. Along those lines, I could just as easily say, I want this to go at 250 count. Now, at this point, count starts meaning something a little bit different. So now when I run it that way, notice I now have a vertical stripe of our targets running along those lines. All right, so it's the word count doesn't necessarily mean anything at this point. So I probably would change the word count to be Y center, Y location, something along those lines. So that way it's much clearer what I'm talking about instead of just generally count. All right, so that is a little bit of nuance here. Now, I'm going to show you a particularly advanced concept that you'll get more practice on later on, but is really easy to show you right now. I could say for y in those positions all the way up. I could do this. I could also do this. Let's copy this for X location. So X and Y location here. Let's say we're going to create a different one of these for each and every point inside of here. So the point is going to be X location, oops, and Y location. All right. So let's see what happens here. Boom. Now that, I don't know if it does it on your screen watching the recording, but it gives a kind of a psychedelic effect inside of there. I've now created every X, every Y. I've created a different location. So I'm not just doing this, how many times is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 times across. I'm doing it 17 times 17 times across. And so I have a whole lot of locations inside of there. So play with this a little bit. We have some more ways you can use this, but I wanted you to see a very simple form of looping that uses a very simple range to just basically do something a number of times, and either direct number of times, 0 through 4, 1 through 5, whatever that's going to be, or I can do a step value and use it within context to draw things as we said on our screen. All right, so I'm going to leave it there for now. Another example coming up in a minute, but go ahead and play, build this out, see if you can build this like this, and go from there. Oh, you know what? Before I leave you there, let me show you one thing. What if I put this at the wrong spot? Let me show you the importance of indentation in Python. You may have noticed this already in your own coding, but if I run this, it's not going to merely be an error here. It actually doesn't draw anything now. It looks like it should be a mistake, but what ends up happening here is it's setting the location, but it's not actually updating it. This draw target here is no longer part of this loop. It's in this inner loop right there. So if I go somewhere in the middle right here, it'll actually give me a warning. The indent does not match the outer indent of the level. So in Python, the level of indentation is extremely important. In some languages like C and Java and some of the other languages, they use some marker like a curly bracket to say, well, this is the start of the loop and this is the end of the loop. But in Python, it doesn't do that. So particularly in nested loops, and all the time, really, you really want to be super careful about the indentation. It's a really good habit to get into, no matter what language you're programming, but it's super important in Python because now if I put that back, it works really nicely and it draws the whole display as we want it to. All right, so I'll leave it for there. We're gonna have another one coming back in a minute, but go ahead and play with this and build your many, many targets.